Okay, today's video we are going to discuss the appropriations process, current and past, and what is bogus lies, and kind of how I hate how the internet has become the source for truth, and how media distorts what used to be just basic facts, on just basic routine stuff like government funding. So, as you probably are aware, President Biden got a 1.7 just regular annual defense and budget bill for fiscal year 2023, and packed in it had some protections for pregnant women and also women who are nursing so that they can have the federal protections in order to adjust to situations at work. Also, in that bill had the Electoral Count Act reform, so hopefully future legislators won't try to raise unethical and illegal stall tactics to elections in the future to prevent a J6. And also, there's money for to continuing upping the Pell Grant. So it's a very interesting bill because it's very comprehensive. Yes, there are a lot of earmarks for people's districts. Also the PACT Act is fully funded, infrastructure is getting its proper spending. It's probably going to, fiscal year 2023 is probably going to be the final year that Biden has a properly funded government. But also, this bill, I don't know if it was because of the earmarks or the Electoral Count Act reforms, because it has everything from lobsters to horse racing to the Electoral College to pregnant women. It's really got a lot of different subject matters all tied into this 4,000 page bill. And I am not trying to fluff up Biden. I am just doing what a newscaster is supposed to do, tell you what's in the damn thing. So now that we've explained what's in the bill, let's talk about everybody's reaction. The right side of the aisle is flipping out over the costs. Even Kevin McCarthy went on the House floor and said this was the most. He said something along the lines that it was something of the most vile, disgusting things he's ever seen in the House. But also, Republicans that grandstand on this bill, their bills were in this piece of legislation. It was just ironic, which means that they're not even bothering to skim the table of contents, which I find a little ironic. Oh, and also the other big thing with that piece of legislation, more money to fund more money than ever to fund the Violence Against Women Act. So it's it's not realistic to say that Biden is not funding cops and also crime prevention laws. So also for the last couple of years, it seems that Democrats and also Republicans on rare occasions are able to get bills done without relying on continuing resolutions. Continuing resolutions just basically say just continue funding from the last bill and we'll earmark this project, this project, this project at this amount, but nothing else changes. And oftentimes, when continuing resolutions happen, it's less money. So, what I'm trying to say is this: the appropriations process has been kind of a hot mess since Reaganomics, because what happened in Reaganomics is this: Ronald Reagan had an 8-year presidency. He had some good things, he had some bad things in Reaganomics. He was the one that introduced, the deregulation, low taxes on the rich, and by the time his presidency was over, we had a $5 trillion deficit. $5 trillion in 1987. So by the time Democrats took back over in the late 80s, they had to force back some tax cuts, or excuse me, undo some tax cuts so that the budget could be funded properly because the deficit spending was so out of control. And then people, Republicans tend to forget this all the time. George H.W., the father, his 4 years in office, he is the only Republican in history that I think of. No, excuse me, in the last 25 years since low tax cuts have started, he was put in a situation where he had to raise taxes, and it was the right thing to do because the Gulf War had started. There was a risk for inflation, the economy was bad, and so he raised taxes. And yes, we do have debt, and it is getting to be a problem. But also, the funding is there. But every time we get these harebrained schemes to do tax breaks for the rich, and it's not. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this because I'm actually a fan of Obama. But President Clinton didn't do tax cuts for the rich. Oh, okay, so let me clarify this. Obama technically didn't do tax cuts for the rich. He just helped keep the Bush tax cuts permanent. So you tell me, is that technically still keeping tax cuts, or is that just tax cuts by default? So, and then Trump. So one point one. Okay, so 5 trillion from the Reagan presidency, 1.8 trillion from Trump's presidency, and Bush's tax cuts, Bush W, were the most expensive tax cuts in history, and they were permanent. So I hope you see now where our debt is truly from. And also, when we do the reconciliation process, that includes messing with taxes, like the Democrats um, put the $15 minimum tax and the 1% stock buyback tax. That helps fund the government. That's what they're doing. And it lasts for at least a presidential term, sometimes up to 10 years. So when you hear that we are just wasting trillions of dollars and the government is just, going broke, 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 please stop listening. The debt ceiling is money. It is just the weirdest tool that we have. Because the debt ceiling is nothing more than a political tool. Because we've been paying on our debt for years. Do we have the ability? And also, it's not literally 30, and I forgot to add the 3 trillion for the Afghanistan war. No, but are we literally sitting on $30 trillion in um, specific debt that we're not paying on? No. It's a mixed bag, and it's mostly stock market stuff. It's almost like a Ponzi scheme. So I hope this puts some perspective. And also, news people, come on. The news people have to get out of propaganda. I know this probably sounds like I'm doing propaganda, but I'm trying to help you understand static versus propaganda. I hope it helps.